All right. Welcome, Danielle. We're at our first March Madness interview, and I'm excited, so excited to connect with you because you're going to take us through our first week of drills. So, for those of you that have been following along with March Madness over the past few years, we're going to have some guest stick handle leaders, and Danielle is our first one. So, Danielle, great to see you. How are you doing today?
Oh, I am doing wonderful, Karen. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Not doing too bad. Just want to start out. I'm just curious, Danielle, like how did you get into hockey and what kinds of hockey do you play?
Ooh, so I started ball hockey fairly young, which I know that's not the usual, I feel like, for our group. Um, but I started when I was 5. We actually have a youth league. Probably it's only like maybe 2-3 miles away from my house. But we have a youth league and they start from like 5 years old all the way. I think you age out at like 14. So I started when I was 5 years old. My brother played, and my mom was like, "Well, your brother's playing, so we're going to put you in this." So I started that when I was 5, followed through with it until I was about 14, 15. And after that, that's when made the jump to ice hockey. So I actually started ice hockey my freshman year of high school and continued down with that. But yeah, ball hockey has always been that OG number one sport in my life. So,
That's fantastic. So what do you still play both?
oh yeah. Oh yeah. So still play both. Obviously with COVID right now, not too much hockey of any sort going on. But yeah, still playing ice hockey recreationally. Still playing ball hockey, tournaments when I can, the national tournaments when they happen. But yeah, still sticking with it.
Yeah, so tell me about that. So we've been to 3 international tournaments together. So where have you been to play for Team USA and what was that like?
Oh God. So I think the first it was 2015, I believe it was, and that was in Switzerland. And for me, it was just like this wild experience because like just how it was like a little like Olympic village. And the whole thing was like on this grand scale. Like you have your face on a projector. And like for me, I played this youth ball hockey from 5 to 14, and then I was pretty much done until we found like women's leagues on the East Coast to play tournaments in. But that was probably when I was 19. So for me, it was just this wild experience that it went from, just something you did recreationally, and then you go to these huge tournaments and you see how legitimate it is. And it was just like mind blowing for me that I'm like, oh my God, like people actually really care about this sport. And this is like a huge deal. So it was, I mean, those have been like the coolest experiences for me. So 2015 in Switzerland, I believe was it 2017 in Czech Republic? And then this past one was 2019 in Slovakia.
Yeah, I remember in the Switzerland tournament, we there was like a little kid that ran up to us like near playoff times, and
Yeah.
the kid didn't speak like any English, but all the kid said was like autograph and like handed me like a marker and like a ball, and I was like, I have made it. Made it in hockey. Like
But
some
this is
kid,
the best.
this is crazy. Yeah, it's wild.
Well, that's a similar story. I mean, I think it was Slovakia this past time, and I think Taylor Stedman and I and Eileen were outside of the arena, and this man came up and he had this sheet for each separate team, and he was getting the autographs of each team, women, men's teams from each country. I'm like holy shit, like this is wild, like this
Yeah.
is absolutely insane.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Um, do you have a favorite mascot from any of those tournaments?
Oh God. So this past one was pretty terrifying. The Slovakia, I forget what his name was, but he had like the crop top. Oh, I forget his name. He scared me. I wouldn't say he was my favorite. He was a character, but he was not my favorite. I have to say Bendy. Bendy the ball, I think from Czech Republic. They should have just stopped there. They peaked. They peaked with their
Yeah.
mascots. Like that was it. That was the one and done. Like they just need to keep him coming for each tournament after that.
Yeah. Bendy the Ball was the man.
Oh, this past one though, I forget his name, and it's probably like buried in my subconscious. This guy.
But
he was interesting.
Yeah, I remember the crop top too, because he had like his belly kind of sticking out.
Yeah,
in this lucky one. Yeah, that
and
was
he came at you real hard, and I was like, I had to swerve from that one. I was like, no, we ain't doing this today. This isn't happening.
So I've had the privilege of playing with you over many years and playing against you in tournaments, which is, as you're a forward, I'm a defenseman, so we match up quite a bit.
Yeah.
What would you say is your like style of playing? Like what type of player are you?
I'm not fancy. Like, I'm not fancy in the slightest. I don't pull fancy little moves. I'm very much, I would say, a grinder. Just hard work, hustle. I would say I use my speed a lot. And then on top of that, I would say I probably lean more physical than not, but just very much like, 100% like work hard, kind of workhorse ethic, but not no hands. So this stick handling was very good for me. But yeah, I would say that kind of is the gist of my playing style.
How does stick handling kind of fit into that like model, right? Like the grinders that grind in the corners. You're super fast, Danielle, too. So like that's like a huge asset and like really difficult for me as a defenseman. So like how does the stick handling stuff, if it's not your like top thing, right? If you're not that like dangling scorer, but like how does it still fit into like that sort of
Playing style?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still an essential part of the game, right? Like you can be the hardest worker, but if you can't handle the ball and if you can't carry the ball, you're not going to be able to do anything. Like you can work as hard as you can, but you need to be able to carry that ball, and you need to be able to, have your stick handling. Maybe it's not the fanciest, but you need to have that to help your work ethic. So you need to have that kind of as a foundation to be able to move the way you want to move and to work the way you want to work.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because it just
I just kind of made that up as I went.
I like it.
Good.
I like it.
Good.
So Danielle, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say I'm going to be a night owl. I'm going to go with that. I'm a night owl for sure. For sure. I like to, the idealized me is a morning person and wants to get up, but in reality, no, night person. Night person.
And do you think so I also know that you're like really sneaky, funny sense of humor. So I was curious, like in that like nighttime, is that when you're most creative in your like nighttime like pieces?
I would say, yeah. I think, yeah.
And where do you get your sense of humor?
My mom 100%. Like people are like, oh, you turn into your parents. Like I'm my mom now. Like I am like a spitting image of my mom, and like I find myself doing like small things every day, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm my mom. Like like I am transforming. Like it's like one day I'm just gonna look in the mirror and I'm gonna be like Sheila Travis in the flesh. Like it's gonna happen. But yeah, so I would say my sense of humor, it comes from my mom, and then a lot of it, my brothers and I, we grew up together. We were always kind of shooting the shit and just, building off of each other's humor.
Do your brothers play hockey?
They used to. So they used to play at Southwest Ball Hockey, the youth league. But after they aged out, they kind of stopped with sports. So they used to play, but not so much anymore.
So it's like kind of interesting dynamic often when you have like older brothers or brothers in general, especially who play hockey, right? And then like as the girl that playing with your brothers or something like that is often a story that gets you, to like, is that similar to your story or?
Yeah. So my older brother used to play, and that's pretty much the reason why I started playing, because my mom put us in this together because it was easier for her to just have all her kids playing this one sport. But he used to like go out of his way to like just destroy me at hockey. Like it was just that sibling rivalry, but he would go out of his way, and like we would face each other during hockey, like tournaments when we were practicing. we would face each other, and he would just try so hard to just kick the shit out of me. And so like it very much like started to build that competitive nature in me, where I was like, well, I got to get better than Joe. Like I need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I really do think that kind of, pushed me to be better and to continue on with
Mm-hmm.
hockey, that competitive nature.
Oh, that's awesome. I have one older brother, and he went out on the ice, I don't know, at like 5 or 6 years old, and cried the whole time. Never went back. And he's like more of the artsy graphic design, like photography type. And so
Yeah.
never had the older brother pushing me, but it's
Hey, you pushed yourself. There you
I
go.
pushed myself. Yeah. So Danielle, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
20-year-old self. Ooh, for like hockey or just in general? Or
You
both?
take that as you will, Danielle.
Okay. I would say just not, and I told Karen earlier that I was going to stop swearing, but I keep on swearing anyway, so we're just going to go with it. To not give a shit, to just do what you want to do. Because I feel like a lot of the times people can be their biggest obstacle, their own biggest obstacle, getting in their minds and just caring a lot about what other people think, and just do what you want to do within reason. Obviously, don't go out and, do things that can hurt other people. But, and I think it's even similar to like hockey, because I know when I started ice hockey, I was pretty skilled at ball hockey growing up, and then starting ice hockey brand new. Like I had the fundamentals of hockey down, but like learning to skate and everything like that, it was a very big obstacle to get over and to get out of my own head and thinking like, oh, I can't do this. Like, this is so hard. And it's like, do you want to do this? Yes. Just do it. Who cares if you look stupid skating? Like, just push yourself to do it, because you're going to regret not doing it more so than looking stupid and caring about what other people think. So yeah, just do it, guys.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's fun. I think hockey teaches you like so many lessons, right? And like there's so much involved in it, because you're pushing yourself physically, but you're also pushing yourself with your teammates, and you're like learning like group dynamics, and like there's all these like things going on, and then you're trying to win games, and so there's like elements there, and there's so much in hockey that can teach you lessons and life lessons.
And there's something to say about the mental aspect of it too. Like so much of the game is like your own mental, not gymnastics, but that's what I'm going to say, mental gymnastics that you have to kind of go through, and the mentality you have to have for it, and to reach that level, that it's really interesting, that part of the game as well.
Yeah. So have you ever dealt with like a long stretch of not playing? Like, I mean, obviously we're all kind of in it right now, but like, have you ever had any other experience with that? And if so, what was that like? If not, like, how are you dealing with the current stretch of not playing?
So I would say, not that I didn't play ball hockey between this period, but like it wasn't as much as when I was playing as a kid. But when I aged out of the youth league from like 15 to like 18 years old, there wasn't that much ball hockey happening, until we found tournaments that we can go to with our women's team. But I would definitely say this past year with like COVID is probably, because I was playing maybe 4 to 5 nights a week of ball hockey. And so since last March, that's pretty much been at a halt, which surprisingly, it was kind of nice at the same time. It was like a reset almost. And I kind of took that opportunity. My best friend Larissa, a lot of people I've played with before, we've been hitting the gym a lot and kind of working on strength training and stuff like that. So it definitely, it helped to kind of shift focus from, just hockey to, what other aspects can we be working on that can be implemented into hockey, and strength training and going to the gym has definitely helped with that.
Well, that's really interesting, right? To kind of like work on something like a different aspect of your game, or your kind of like what you bring to that game, which is interesting too, to think about like stick handling as well, as like someone who's like a fast, like kind of like grit type person, to also think about like what's that stick handling piece that could be added to the game. So I was wondering, like, what advice do you have for for those who are trying to keep up or maybe like learn a new skill to add to their game, like despite not being able to play as often, right? We can't just go and like work on something at our league game.
Yeah.
And we're also not really allowed to go outside to
Yeah,
like
no, exactly.
places. So well, what advice do you have for that?
I mean, I would say for something like stick handling, you don't need, and I feel like with myself, like I struggle with this a lot, you don't need the ideal setup for it. You don't need the ideal situation for it. Like if you need to work on stick handling, do what you can with what you have. So if you just have your stick, a ball in like a tiny room, see what you can do in your room. You know, you don't have to be playing league games to be able to build up fundamentals. So I definitely, or even, you know, make the time, like set the time aside, because I feel like that's with a lot of people, they're like, oh, I don't have the time to do this. Well, break it up in little pieces. So like if you only have 10 minutes, see what you can do with 10 minutes in a day with what you have.
Yeah, that's good advice, right? Sometimes the hardest part is just getting started, and then
Yeah.
you're like 5 or 10 minutes in, and you're like, all right, I can do this, for that 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, if you do it long enough, you know, you start forming that habit and then you can carry that with you as you go.
Tell us about your week of stick handling. What should folks expect?
So I chose a lot of the drills that I liked that you did. And then I chose a couple that I myself struggle with. So which one was it? And I'll tell you, I had to take so many takes. Like I put my camera on the tripod and I was like, oh, this one's going to be easy. It's going to be one and done. And it's the one where you just take the ball and pop it over the stick. You're working on soft hands. So you just take it, pop it over the stick, take it, pop it over the stick. And I'm like, oh, that'll be easy. Like that'll be fun. Like it's like soft hands. I need to work on soft hands anyways, because when I run and like when I'm in that mode of like just high intensity, I tense up. And I hold the stick real hard. So I was like, okay, I'll do that one. It'll be easy. I'm working on soft hands. I kid you not, I probably had to like reshoot it about 8 to 10 times because I was like, son of a bitch. Like I couldn't get it. Like, and then finally I was like, okay, like take like 10 minutes and actually start practicing it. Don't just assume that you're going to get it on the first try, and practice it a little and then go from there. But yeah, so I just chose drills that either I thought were fun or for me personally, like I needed to work on.
That's amazing. It's also interesting to hear like that as you're like, because there's this balance with stick handling and like running and being physical where you're trying to be like, oh, like I want to get into the corner, I want to win the ball, but then all of a sudden you win the ball and you have to have soft hands, or you're trying to like catch a pass and like you're running as fast as you can, but like your hands should be soft. And that's like, it's a tension point. Like it's sort of opposite of it's like two things going on at once that's actually like kind of hard to manage.
Yeah, and it's like you have to find that balance between the two. Like, and it's just like you said, it's just finding that, and like, you know, your high intensity, you're turning that on, and it's like, okay, well, you need to be cognizant of like, what are your hands doing when your body's doing this, like, and just kind of, again, with that mental aspect, just being aware of like what your body is doing.
So my last question for you, Danielle, is who is someone that you admire?
Oh, Karen, baby, that is oh, I mean, there's just one person that's hard. I'm gonna go in a hockey aspect of it, and I would say I really do enjoy seeing Kendall Coyne because she's a local. I'm from Chicago, for those who don't know, and it's nice to see what she has brought to the women's game, and not only what she has brought, but like what she is doing to help build it, not only just in our area, but like across the country as well. I think she's a really good, you know, role model for girls that are growing up and playing hockey as well.
And she's done some really like cool stuff over the past couple of years with the NHL, and then her new position, I believe, with the Blackhawks.
Yes, yeah.
Or like, yeah, so yeah, it's really fascinating to watch. And she's also like she's really small, so it's also like as like a human, like a person, right? Like,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
very
also really
compact.
cool to see. Yeah, it's really cool to see someone like that, striving at such great levels
And kicking ass. kicking
Yeah,
it.
and I think watching her development too has been interesting because I think she is gone from just like someone who had that like super speed and like that grit and that like, you know, like laser focus on like kind of buzzing around and causing havoc to someone who's
Yeah.
also really skilled with her stick skills, her passing, her shooting, and that's really like grown over the last like 10 years or so.
Yeah. And the same will happen for all you watching if you do Karen's or our stick handling videos. So I had to plug
That's
it.
right. I think we have to end it there. That's perfect, Danielle. All right, Danielle, thanks so much. I'm gonna pause the recording and thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to doing the stick handling drills this month.
All right. Thanks for having me too, Karen.